Are you ready? طيب. تفضل.
What is the etiquette of saying Ameen in the Salah?
Question says, what is the etiquette of making the ta'meen in the Salah? It should be done when the Imam says it, bidin ta'ala, then you say it. The voice should be raised, and it should be elongated relatively. It should be something where it's grossly loud more than all others. Everybody else. It should be done in unison. Naam? Bidin ta'ala. Wallahu alam. Questions online? Fadl Osama?
Hadith about where the person prayed badly, and the ulama that take this hadith to mean that you have to recite the Fatiha is mandatory. How do you understand the other hadiths where it's clear that there is no rak'ah without the Fatiha? How do they understand that?
Tayyip. Question is regarding the issue of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ told the man to recite what's simple from the Quran. And according to what we read tonight, the Fatiha wasn't mentioned. How do they understand the other hadith, the narration 222 of Ubadah, there's no salah without the Fatiha of the Kitab? Two ways of understanding it. First and foremost is, as we said, there are different versions of this hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned reciting the Kitab. Secondly, those ulama who said that don't recite anything behind the Imam, period, they have different interpretations, such as when it says La Salata, they said there's no perfect prayer. There's no prayer that's best and perfect. That's their interpretation of it, which is not necessarily strong. In which the Messenger of Allah says, La, there is nothing, La imana, La yu'minu, La this, La that, no this. It can't mean something that's only, recommended. Something that's only preferable. As was explained in detail by Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah. Clear on that? With regards to how they understand the hadith of Ubadah. In general, as we said, the issue is very extensive. We don't have time to get into all of the details, nor is this the proper setting for all of that. What's important is the fiqh madhabs, why they differ, several reasons. Sometimes, as we said, some of those imams didn't know of those hadiths. If we do, it's obligatory upon us to do what? Take what we know. Everybody understand this? Some imams did know of different hadiths, but they didn't take them or uphold them for one reason or another. Whether the hadith they thought was abrogated, or there was another hadith that was stronger, or was a principle that was stronger, or a hadith wasn't accepted to them, and the list goes on. Several different reasons behind khilaf. What's important is the student of knowledge, the scholar of Islam, the layman Muslim, is to understand things in two lights. The first is a general light, i.e. with principles. And secondly is to take that which is specific as long as it doesn't go against the general principles. General and what? Specific. Wallahu alam.
Questions from online. Hanan Aslam, New York. What if you follow the madhab in which they recite in the silent prayers and not in the loud? So what do you do if the imam recites too fast and finishes the Fatiha and goes to the next rak'ah? And before you recite Fatiha, what if you finish before the imam?
Repeat the question, please.
What if you in a silent prayer, you follow the madhab that
You have to recite behind the imam.
in the silent prayers,
Clear.
and you don't get to recite the Fatiha
Right.
before the imam.
If you're praying behind the imam in a silent prayer, and the imam makes the takbir before you can finish your Fatiha, then as we have previously explained, some of those ulama say the following of the imam trumps anything and everything else in the salah. It's obligatory to follow the imam. So even though it's obligatory to recite the Fatiha according to their madhab, if the imam makes takbir to go into ruku', you have to do what? That overrides the other obligation. And in that instance, they say one is not exempt from that rukn of the prayer, that pillar of the prayer. Everybody understand this? Because of the importance and the necessity of what? Following the imam. Whether it's a prayer that's recited aloud or silently. Everybody understand this or not? And we also said, even though we said it in brief, Usama, is that these difficulties and these ins and outs are from the context clues. They're from the context clues to show you that the view that says when the imam is reciting out loud, keep silent, because there's a difficulty. You have to hop, you have to maneuver and wiggle. I can't recite before the imam, then I can't recite before the imam. The imam is reciting surah, I'm reciting the Fatiha. It just doesn't settle. Everybody understand this? It only makes sense. That Allah says when the Quran is recited, then do what? Listen and remain silent in order for you to receive what? Mercy. Everybody understand this? We're not here to discuss the issue because it's a long issue, as we said before. But just to show you how one thing leads to something else. Al-Muhim, I don't see how a person can pray behind an imam in a silent prayer and not get the Fatiha. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's why we clearly pointed out to the allowed prayer. But if it's silent, the imam makes takbir, why can't you recite the Fatiha? Allahu alam. Fadal, Saeed.
To piggyback off of Salih's question on the etiquette of saying Ameen, what happens when the imam is reciting and he doesn't say Ameen after the Fatiha?
You say it.
You still say it?
Yes. If he's of the view that you don't say it, you say it. Wallahu alam. Fadal.
I know recently you've been giving some talks to Kuningi Kukbar about this, the common things of that nature, staying steadfast. I wanted you to kind of hint on what is the extra rewards given the fact that, you know, we have to stay steadfast in an environment that's not really conducive to that, like in the West, versus other places where the Muslim lands, where it may be a little bit easier for the Muslim to stay steadfast and follow the traditions of the religion. What about, you know, the rewards for a person who's
Clear.
living in that?
With regards to istiqamah and being mustaqim in a place which is totally Allah musta'an against istiqamah and every aspect of the meaning and concept of the concept. Everything that's for istiqamah is against it. Or most, not all, but most. What are some of the extra rewards or special rewards for Muslims that are trying to practice it in this situation? The greater the struggle, the greater the reward. The Prophet ﷺ told his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha, he said, the reward that you'll get from your Hajj is based off of how exhausted you become, how tired you become, how much of a struggle it is. Everybody understand this? So just look at it like that. There's a place in which you're making an extra struggle and you're putting forth extra effort. Inshallah, that means extra reward. The Prophet ﷺ also tells us about the reciters of the Quran. The Mahir, he says, the expert of the Quran will be with the noble recording angels. The noble recording angels. Nah? And he says, and the one who recites the Quran, and he says, and he stutters, and is difficult and burdensome, he says, falahu ajran. He gets 2 rewards. Because the one who isn't easy and fluent and proficient in Quran, he does what? He struggles even more. He's putting in even more of an effort. It's frustrating, it's hard, it's against him. He gets double reward. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully this will be the case of Muslims who live in places and times in which it is against istiqamah, difficulty, let alone they can appreciate light. No one can appreciate light except that they've seen some type of what? Some type of darkness. Everybody understand that? Wallahu alam.
Asiya Sophia from Nottingham, UK. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How to balance college work and seeking knowledge?
How to balance college work and seeking knowledge. Depends on what type of knowledge you're seeking. Being studious, reading, going to classes, workshops. It's one type of balance. If you're talking about taking it to the next level, studying full time, being dedicating yourself to being a real serious, self-respecting student of knowledge, there is no balance. Everybody understand this? So let's make an example of this to make things simple. We have Muslims that are good Muslims. They love Allah and His Messenger. They love their religion. They go to the khutbah. They go to the masjid when they can. They listen to the Quran on their, iPhone or whatever the case may be from time to time, but they're not really studious like that. They'll sit in the class if they can, but they're not really studious like that. It's tayyib, labas. As long as they know that which is obligatory and necessary, and they get the reminder when it's time to get a reminder, that's what? That's fine. We don't force them to find anything other than that. Then we have a next level. Someone who's not, quote unquote, student of knowledge, meaning they didn't go overseas, they don't know Arabic, they're not that hardcore studious, but they're a notch or a few notches above than the previously mentioned one, in which they actually read books in English, hadith books. They actually study, take an Aqidah course online. They actually learn a little bit of Arabic. They learn tajweed. They do tahfidh in the masjid. They're trying a bit more. They're much more studious than the average one. But at the same time, I have a wife, have children. Or I don't have a wife and I have children, but I go to school. I don't want to go, 100%, but I don't want to be on zero either. Like sports. You have minor leagues. All right, we understand this? Amateur boxing. They work out. They love boxing, but they're not good enough, or they don't want to go through the struggle to be a professional boxer. All right, but understand this? This is a different story. And they still have to make a living. I still have to pay the bills. Or I still have other interests and hobbies in life. That's one thing. But someone who wants to do what? Be a professional. I want to go to the top. I love this. I have a passion for it. There is no what? There's no balance. There's no balance. And if you have the ability to eat and to drink and have your basic necessities taken care of and everything else is spent in the gym, then that's where you want to be. It's just that simple. So if you're in the middle, then that's one thing. Inshallah ta'ala, make for yourself a daily goal, a weekly goal, a monthly goal, and a yearly goal. Have something consistent, even if it's small. Always have books with you, on your phone, on your tablet, in your pocket. Have a daftar, a notebook, you write down benefits. Give a little small class, help out your sisters in the MSA, etc. Balance between two things, labas. But if you want to be serious, full-time, then there is no other thing. As many of the pious predecessors used to say, هذا الشأن لمن لا شأن له إلا هذا الشأن. They would say to different hadith learners, they say this sha'an, this thing, this affair is for one who has no affairs except for this affair. This affair is for one who has no affairs except for what? This affair. Wallahu alam.
Olive Sadiq from Phoenix, Arizona. Is it haram to accept plea deal in kafir court?
Say that again.
Is it haram to accept plea deal in kafir court?
In general, the whole concept of going to the courts, يريدون أن يتحاكموا إلى الطاغوت وقد أمروا أن يكفروا به. Allah says, have you not seen those who claim to believe in Allah? They claim to believe in Islam. They claim to be believers. They claim to believe that which Allah sent down, and that which Allah sent down upon you and those who came before you. And they want to go to the Taghut. They want to seek judgment in the false deities. And they've been commanded to reject them. They've been what? Commanded to stay away from them. So that's extremely problematic. Being pleased with the law of other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if everything inside of the court system or the Taghut system is not necessarily against the Sharia. As we said before, everything in man-made laws is not 101% against the Sharia, but the system is against the Sharia in general. It's not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not based off the Sharia. So that's problematic. Whether it's in the Middle East or whether it's in America. Whether it's in a quote-unquote Muslim country, Arab country, Middle Eastern country, or whether it's in the UK, wherever you are, that's a problem. However, due to the fact that it's obligatory for there to be some type of judgment among the people, and sometimes the only way that you can get your rights, the only way you can stop an oppressor is through these oppressive laws. The Arabs, they say, خُذِ الثَّوْرِ وَاحْذَرْ قَرْنَيْهِ. They say, grab the bull, but watch out for his horns. Grab the bull, but watch out for the horns of the bull. In other words, you got to know how to dip into the dab. Certain things you do, and you have to learn how to what? Step out the way for the other things. Oh, that's too much. I can't do that. I can't get involved in that. But it's a certain involvement that I what? Must have. Certain things are obligatory, are mandatory, even with regards to interest, unfortunately. There's certain things you just have to do. And if not, your life is going to be extremely difficult and burdensome living in 2017. But you have to know what? To move out of the way. And to reject this and to turn away from that. So it depends on the plea. It depends on the case. It depends on the issue. Something that you must do, different story. Allah doesn't put on the soul more than the soul can bear. Something that's a preference, that's extra, you don't need it, stay away from it. وهكذا. Wallahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum. SR, Brooklyn, New York. Do taxi drivers, in parentheses, who drive daily, have the permission to combine prayers, in parentheses, not shorten?
Taxi drivers driving prayers, can they combine their salats and not shorten their salats? It depends. If you're traveling, whatever is considered to be traveling, then you can combine a salat and shorten a salat. If you're not traveling, then the default is that you make every prayer in its normal fixed time. However, as Abdullah ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu narrated in Sahih Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ combined the salat in Medina. There wasn't any traveling. The different versions, they differ. Some say fear, some say rain, some say sickness. What's important is that he made Dhuhr and Asr together, and he also made Maghrib and Isha together without a normal reason or excuse. And when it was asked, Ibn Abbas, why did he do this? He says, Arada Allah yuhrija ummatahu. He wanted to make it easy for his ummah and not make a hardship upon them. So based off of that narration, some of the ulama, not all of them, some of them they say, is that it's permissible for a Muslim to combine salah even if he isn't traveling with an excuse from time to time, whether it's sickness, whether it's irregular bleeding, or whether it's something that is a necessity, like you have to go to the hospital, you have to go to a surgery, you have to sit in the court, and you know you're going to be there for some hours. And it's going to be very, very, very difficult to pray where you are because of the time, because of the location. I have to wait. I've been waiting to see the neurologist for many weeks. I'm sitting in the office. I can't leave. I can't step out. I can't make salat, so on and so forth. But not on a daily, everyday, constant basis. Everybody understand this? Whether you're a cab driver or not, according to the hajjah, the need and only the need. But if you're not traveling, then you're like anybody else. When it's time to pray, you must stop your taxi and you have to pray. Whether it's in the beginning of the salah, right at the adhan, or before salat al-dhuhr goes out. The asr comes in at 4 p.m., comes in, let's say, mathalan, 1 p.m. You have to manage your time. From 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., I have time to make what? Dhuhr. The best time is to make it at 1 p.m. But I'm traveling here, not traveling, meaning but I'm driving, I'm stuck in traffic, I have a lunch break, I make dhuhr at 2:30. Mathalan. Everybody understand this? So if you're not traveling, you don't shorten the prayer unless it's a need and a necessity. And if you do combine the salats on a need and a necessity, it shouldn't be something that's done all of the time. Wallahu alam. As far as if they're travelers on a daily basis, then they have the rulings of travelers. Even if they do it on a what? Daily basis. Truck drivers, and the list goes on. If they're actually making safar. Wallahu alam.
Is just the first name permissible for questioners, or do they have to have their last name at least?
Yeah. First name and last name, if not initials. Wallahu alam. يوصي فضل وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله يا أخي.
I have a question regarding the hadith when the Prophet ﷺ said there should be no quote-unquote parentheses money prizes or competitions except in archery, camel racing, and horse racing. Is that restricted to only those competitions, or is there some lenient way?
Tight. Next question. This question is pertaining to the basketball competition. Correct? The cup has to be what? Empty. We explained the rulings what? Jazakallah khairan. Tfaddal. Pertaining to the basketball issue? You gotta be quick, Lutfi. Tfaddal.
For the Sunnah of the Prophet, has there been any Sunnah that's
I tell you, I had a book. You gotta have it every day. If you read the book, then you would have known how to what? Maneuver properly. Tfaddal.
No. Is there any Sunnah of the Prophet that's been abandoned after the Salah?
Sunnah that's been abandoned after the salah, there are many sunnahs. Saying Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam, saying Allahu Akbar 3 times, astaghfirullah. Okay? All types of adhkar, tasbih, takbir, done with the hand. Most people, the first thing after salah, shake their brother's hand, raise their hands, or they get up and they start praying. And the list goes on. Many things that the Prophet used to do after the salah. He instructed us to sit in the masjid after the salah. And the list goes on. There's recommended acts, obligatory acts, of course, unfortunately, but let's say just recommended acts that are abandoned before the salah, during the salah, and after the salah. And the reason why these things have been abandoned, first and foremost, is ignorance. People not spreading knowledge. People not propagating knowledge. The imams, the students of knowledge, the scholars, the da'is, whatever, the mawla, whatever name or title is given. Not pumping the knowledge of the sunnah to the people, teaching them for one excuse or another. The time, the place, the general people, they won't understand, they won't know, we don't want to busy them, no, blah, blah, blah. If you want propaganda to spread, what do? Abu Sa'id, what do? When they want to change and influence the opinion of the general people, what do? They put it on the news, on the radio, on the newspapers. They what? They make dawah in abundance until you get the point clearly. If you agree with it, you don't agree with it, but you definitely what? You know about it for sure. This one in this country has nothing to do with me. It's not affecting my life. This president, this investigation, this one, that one, it has no tangible benefit, but it's stuffed down your throat because they want you to be aware of it at least. Everybody understand this? So the people who have knowledge, they don't teach the knowledge. They don't disseminate the knowledge. They keep the people ignorant and stupid. Everybody understand this? They don't educate them properly. Or culture, it's another problem. Or schools of thought, it's another problem. And the list goes on. Wallahu alam. Abu Sa'id.
Speaking of the practice of shaking hands directly after the salah, one time I was praying and I knew the brother was going to try to shake my hand after the salah, so I went to stand up so I didn't have to shake his hand. The brother grabbed me by my ankle. He grabbed me by my ankle to shake my hand right after the salah. How do we...
I mean, first and foremost is if somebody tries to shake your hand, then you can't necessarily say that you can't shake your brother's hand. Whether it's a bid'ah or not. Tries to shake your hand, not us. If you can explain to him what the Prophet used to do, or you can't, there's nothing wrong with shaking his hand. Okay? The problem is when the people, they do it every single salah exactly in the same way. And Allah, exactly, no doubt. And they may have a different an intention. This is what you have to do. That's one thing. And it becomes a bid'ah without a question. But if somebody just does it, not best.
But it's a massive way. This is what they do. This is just...
They're not going to listen to you in most cases, unfortunately.
So just continue to shake their hand?
What can you do, shake? Unless you want them grabbing your leg. You pick which one you want. The hand or the leg. Allah Mustaan.
The leg, right?
Don't cut up something.
AK from Melbourne, Australia. When one is an intermediate level of Arabic language and understanding, one wishes to improve their reading and sharpening their skills. How should one go about it? Should they stick to very basic books or go and read books that are more advanced, which he understands little to none in the Arabic language, like the hadith books?
There's many ways of looking at it. I would say in brief is make sure that you lock down the fundamentals. Lock them down. Study one book 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Go over the class over and over again and make sure you got it. Make sure you've been evaluated thoroughly by your teacher or teachers. And if you're self-taught, then make sure you continually repeat it over and over again. So yep. Now it's time to move on. Intermediate, next level, right? You should, if you have a teacher, then go for his or her guidance. Ask them what you should do. If you don't have a teacher, or if you do have a teacher, but you also have your own personal studies on the side, then there has to be a challenge. There has to be a difficulty. It can't be so easy and so simple. And the moment that there's no difficulty, no challenge, no pull, that means that you didn't move up. You didn't graduate to the next level. It's just too easy. Everybody understand this? And this is relative from person to person. There's some people that are very talented, very hardworking, and they find it difficult to be challenged. And then there's some people it's not like that. Everybody understand this? So, it's a balance. You move forward, but don't move too forward too quickly, in which you're totally lost and confused 101%. But 20%, dig and dive to those books, in which is like a bit too much, but not too much. If that makes any sense. You see what I'm saying to you? What's important is that you have a system laid out for you. If you have a teacher will do that for you. If you're online in a school, the school will do that for you. And if it's your own personal level, then you have to correspond with that which is out and available. For example, when it comes to hadith, you have the beginning books, you have the intermediate books, you have the advanced books. Beginner's book would be مثلا 40 hadith, for example. An intermediate book would be مثلا Nail al-Awtar. An advanced book مثلا would be Sahih Muslim. So I finished Bulugh al-Maram, I finished Umdat al-Ahkam, I finished 40 hadith. Now I'm moving on to Nail al-Awtar. Nail al-Awtar is a bit big. I can understand a good amount of it, but not everything. So you have to keep pushing yourself. But don't dig too far too fast. Maybe you have to go back. Everybody understand this? وهكذا. Wallahu alam.
Hanan Aslam from New York, New York. In my school, we pray on portable gynamas.
Portable what?
Gynamas.
Okay.
Prayer mats. So on the floor, we put the gynamas, prayer mats. It's possible for there to be impurities there. We cannot wash the prayer mats every week. What should we do to clean the prayer mats and get rid of the possible impurities?
Is it possible impurities or actual impurities? If you don't know about impurities, then the asl is tahara. It's pure until proven impure. If you're sure, then that's a different story. But if it's possibly impurities, how do you know? And if there's a smell or odor or color, then that's a proof for knowledge and not lack of certainty. Wallahu alam.
What's a proper term for something that you pray on?
A proper term for something that you pray on, that could be anything. Anything. Prayer mat, ground, it's no specific rigid ruling for that. Wallahu alam.
Ahmed from Queens, New York. Assalamu alaikum. Is the one who runs from the battlefield killed in the Islamic State?
Is the one who runs from the battlefield killed in an Islamic state? The Messenger of Allah ﷺ tells us, "Ijtanibu as-sab'a al-mubiqat." Says, avoid the 7 destructive sins. And from them, he says, "What tawalli yawm az-zahf," is turning your back on the battlefield. Also, Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about this in Surah Al-Anfal. إلا متحرفا لقتال أو متحيزا إلى فئة فقد باع بغضب من الله ومأواه جهنم وبئس المصير. Allah says, لا تولوهم الأدبار. Don't turn your backs. فلا تولوهم الأدبار ومن يولي يومئذ دبره إلى آخر الآية. So turning your back on a battlefield is a major sin, without a question. Unless it's an instance or scenario in which it's permissible or mandatory to turn your back. As the people of knowledge explain, in certain instances it's mandatory or permissible to turn your back. In certain instances. If that's not the case, then it's a major sin. Killing someone, capital punishment, putting someone under death, Islamic state, non-Islamic state, it has to be based off of Kitab and Sunnah. It has to be based off what? Kitab and Sunnah. If Allah and His Messenger said that it's a major sin, it's haram, they'll go to the fire, you have to have proof to say that their blood is now lawful. You have to have what? Dalil from Kitab and Sunnah saying that their blood is lawful. And if you don't, then it's impermissible to take the blood and spill the blood of a Muslim. Wallahu alam.
This is Ian from Springfield, Virginia. Man agrees to marriage with a girl back home. But she is too young right now, so the person will have to wait some years to marry her. Man goes to university. Should he marry someone here? The person is afraid of falling into zina even though he does his due diligence of trying to stay safe. University is filled with youth who are roasting.
Sahib. With regards to roasting youth, may Allah make it easy for them, easy for us all. I mean, it's a problem. The question is problematic because it's a mixture of two totally contrast worlds. The traditional marriage back home and college. Sahih? Traditional marriage back home, my country back home, and college. It's a mushkila. It's a problem. All right? Now, obviously, everybody has to have a balance. Everybody's not going to be 101% on this or on that. But you got to figure out what you're going to do. You want to get married to a girl who's too young and wait 2-3 years and this and that, family arranged marriage, and you're roasting, going to college. It doesn't necessarily work like that. There are many people that roast because of culture, because of money. They want to be modern, but they still want to be old-fashioned. They want to be Islamic, but they still want to be worldly. It's a melting pot of stuff. What do you want to do? Do you have to go to college? This is the first question. This is an honest question I'm asking youth. Is it mandatory for you to go to college? When you graduate from this school, what work can you get? How can you feed your family? It's the reality. What skills are you learning in college? What vocation, what actual way to make money are you getting? I'm not saying that college is absolutely bad. I'm not saying that. But I'm asking the question for each individual. It's not for everybody. Everybody's not made to be a college student. Everybody's not made to be an athlete. Everybody's not made to be an artist. Everybody understand this? So many Muslims today, if not most of them, they have the automatic concept that everybody has to go to college and has to study this degree and learn this degree. But at the same time, you can't get married to a girl from a different culture or a different race or a different age. In other words, they still cling to the what? The traditional old-fashioned ways, but he's in college, which is what? Totally different. And then we have the thing in the middle, which is the roasting. Everybody understand this? It's unfortunate. Obviously, there's going to be a balance, but the point I'm trying to make is what, Sufyan, is that they have to do what? You got to choose what you want to be upon. Everybody understand this? You got to choose what you want to be upon. Why marry a girl that's too young? You got to wait 2-3 years and go to college and roast. And then you get married. What happens when a girl's of age now? You're going to divorce the other girl? Is it a temporary marriage? Marriage with divorce? It's just too many. You're just juggling too many things. And this is the case of most of us today as Muslims, living too many lives. We want to be Bedouins, but at the same time, we want to be modern. I want to be luxurious, extravagant, but at the same time, I hold fast and I cling tightly to my Arab culture. That makes it impermissible for me to do this, and I can't do this, and I'll never do this, and I'll never go here with this one. I can't marry this one. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Everybody understand this? So obviously, you're going to have to give and take something. You're going to have to what? Give and take something. If not, you're going to suffer through roasting or through zina wa liyadhu billah. May Allah protect all of the Muslims and allow us to use our heads. Hopefully this makes sense what I'm trying to say. Of course, there's a balance. Taban, there's a what? There's a balance. But you can't live like that 500 years ago and you want to be in 2018 in college. It doesn't work like that. The system is not made like this. And this is the case of what? If not most of the Muslims in the Western countries today, unfortunately. You want to be American? You want to live the American life, the American dream? But you're still a racist. You're still a colorist. You're still a tribalist. Is there racism in America? Colorism in America? Of course there is. But not like how you're practicing it. Everybody understand this? You want to take the values of America. America's such a great country. It's an awesome country. Look what it provides. But you still cling on to the basic things that America is saying that we're trying to do what? Get rid of. Even if it's still doing it hypocritically. But you cannot have outward prejudice against a person, a homosexual, LGBT, black, white, this, that, foreign. But you, as a Muslim, you still have these still traits. No, you can't marry. She's not from Bangladesh. You can't marry her. No. He's not a real Muslim if he's not from Pakistan. Well, right here in this masjid. Am I making this up, Saeed? Am I making this up? But the person is going to school studying chemical engineering. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If you ask the professor that, Professor, I want to get married, but the person's not from Pakistan. What's the professor going to say? If you love him, why not? So, yani, it's a very dangerous state of the Muslims today, unfortunately. May Allah help us all.
Ryan from London. Is the spectrum piercing in Islam allowed? I'm sorry. Septum piercing in Islam allowed? Is the septum piercing in Islam allowed? This is the piercing in the lower part of the nose in between the nostrils, similar to the cow. What if your husband likes it?
Tell you. Me personally, I wouldn't advise a Muslim to get that type of piercing. I wouldn't advise that. Is it haram? It's unlawful. It cannot be done. I can't say that. I do not have the ability to say that. The general ruling is that piercing is permissible in Islam. In general. Hadith in which the Messenger of Allah told the women to give sadaqah, and they threw their earrings, and Bilal gathered the wealth. The ears were pierced. The scholars of Islam, they mention the permissibility of piercing the nose. Everybody understand this? Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, has a fatwa about a woman having a piece of gold, a piece of jewelry connects to the ear, to the nose. He says, إِذَا كَانَتْ مِمَّا جَرَتْ بِهِ الْعَادَةِ, if it's customary, it's practice among the people. So the question is, when is the line when you can and cannot pierce? To what extent does it stop? If it's originally permissible, what makes it haram to pierce this, or to pierce this, or to pierce up here? And obviously there's some piercings which one may say, or one could say, are a bit outlandish. Or not the piercing itself, but the amount of piercings, and which is just too many piercings on the body. Every place is a piercing. Everybody understand this? Now, is piercing a means of imitating the kuffar? Is it a means of worshiping Satan? Is it Satanism? Allah talks about this in Surah An-Nisa, piercing the ear of the cow. Everybody understand this? Certain piercings, that's a long discussion. What's important is, I can't say that it's haram. I wouldn't advise you to do it. Like a cow, like he said, like a cow. I wouldn't advise you to do it. Wallahu alam.
What if your husband likes it?
I wouldn't advise you to do it. I would advise you to talk to your husband and explain to him that I got advice from my disciple not to do it. Tayyib, if he orders you to do it and you believe that it's permissible, then do it. If he orders you to do it and you believe it's haram, then what? Don't do it. I wouldn't advise for you to do it. Is it haram? I can't what? I'm not going to say that. Wallahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Ihsan from Quran, New York. Can the man reduce his wife's provision and take on a second? Example, moving her into a less expensive house, reducing expenditure on clothing, etc. Is this unjust?
Tayyib. It depends on what you mean by reducing or downgrading or downsizing. If it's falling beneath the basic standard, then of course no. If your wife, alhamdulillah, you're taking good care of her, she lives a lush, lavish life, or she's well taken care of, she has more than what she needs by far, that's a different story. That's a what? That's a different story. But are you talking about falling beneath the standard? No. Or not even the standard of what's obligatory, but beneath the standard of custom. According to how much money you make, what's your lineage, what's your background, what city and state you live in. This is very important stuff here, because the human being can survive off of water and bread. Less than that. But that's totally uncustomary to us. If there was a brother in New York City, Queens, New York, and he fed his wife bread and water for every single meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever the case may be, and we heard about this brother, how would they look at him, Abu Saeed? That's it? You just give your wife water and bread? But she's not starving. She's surviving. So from one aspect, that's beneath the standard of custom. And from another aspect, it's not beneath the standard of necessity, but that's just not right. You have a good paying job. Making how much, Abu Saeed? $100,000 a year. What benefits? With this and that. And you have your wife living in a tiny, small studio apartment. Everybody understand this? It's not obligatory for her to have a big, gigantic house or a condo, but it's beneath the standard of the custom. Everybody understand this? As far as if you have your wife and she lives in a large house, there's no children. Everybody understand this? There's a lot of extra money, a lot of extra space, a lot of extra things. And you want to manage it a bit better to take on another wife? It's not necessarily haram. Everybody understand this? As long as it doesn't fall under that what? The standard of necessity. And the standard of the what, Lutfi, you said that? The custom. And there lies a doubt, cheapness or being a miser is relative. And there are certain people, even though it's not obligatory or haram to do, but it's according to the custom. The amount of money that you're making every year. And have your wife struggling in a taxi cab or getting on a bus and living in this small, tiny, hole-in-the-wall apartment is not right. It's what? It's not right. You getting on another wife, taking on another wife, it's only going to add problem upon what? Problem. Wallahu alam.
It's Kareem from New York, Brooklyn. Question, Ya Sheikh.
What time is Salah?
How long did it take you to memorize the whole Quran?
We're going to stop here tonight, inshallah. Please forgive us for stopping short. Jazakumullah khairan. It's time for us to offer the Salah. May Allah bless you all. All that is good is from Allah, and all that is negative is from myself.